Hi, and welcome to Cut the Crap, the podcast. My name is Laman, and I'm going to be hosting real people having real conversations. I find that health stems well beyond your food and weight, and that with the right conversation, not only can we gain perspective, but spark positive, lasting change. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's conversation. Hi, Shirin.
Hey.
Let's start with, how would you describe homeopathy or a homeopathist?
Okay, so homeopathy is a holistic way of treating someone and treating someone with conditions. They could be physical or mental, and they could be acute or chronic. And with holistic, I mean that, like, for example, someone is coming to me with a headache.
Yeah.
I would never treat the headache. I treat the person who has the headache. The person with the history of headaches, with the family history of, I don't know, whatever there is. Person with his or the whole individual.
So you're not treating the symptom,
No.
you're finding out the source.
Well, yeah, for sure. That's like, normally that's what it is, unless it's a super acute case and you just have a symptom and the symptom is dangerous, then you treat the symptom.
So what's one of the most common things someone can come and want and seek treatment for? Is it a headache? Is it body aches? Or is it more...
In my case, to me,
Yeah.
like for me, to me, a lot of people come with anxiety attacks, panic attacks, depression. Like, I have a lot of people with like more symptoms on the mental side.
Okay.
The other things are common things where I would say classic medicine comes to its limits, like migraines, like allergies, chronic sinuses. What do you want to do? You want to keep on taking the medication. This is not treating the root or the root cause of why you got the sinuses.
So what could be a root cause for someone who has a migraine?
Well, like, I would focus on two things. I would focus on, please, you observe yourself when you get the migraines. Like, what's going on? Is there like a rhythm where you get them? Do you always get them if you feel something's coming up and you feel a kind of a pressure? Do you get them when there's disappointment? Like, what's the emotion connected to it? Or is there like a rhythm? Yeah, always before my period I get the migraine. Then this would be a very good thing for the homeopath to know. And then the second thing I would ask is, since when do you have that? And if you would tell me, for example, since 5 years, okay, what was 5 years ago? And if you would tell me, well, I've been going through a hard time with my partner, then this would be for me, okay, this is when it started. Okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. What was the emotion there? I felt I was not wanted. Okay, right, so that's the feeling that's behind it. And since then, it's always coming every, 2 weeks, 1 week, or whatever.
So so a session would include like questions just to try and figure out the trigger of whatever you're coming to seek treatment for.
There are a lot of homeopaths and all of them work differently, but I love to focus on the cause, like what caused it من الأول. يعني especially if you come to me with something that you have since 6 years or since 5 years, what was there has to be something that happened there. Sometimes the person that comes to me says, I don't know what was going on there. So then we go a little bit deeper in the second or the third session, when it comes to the surface.
Okay, that's very interesting, because I would have never thought that it's like therapy.
It's a little bit like therapy.
It's a little bit like therapy.
Not with all the cases.
Because you're not gonna check me, technically. You're gonna check in with me.
Depends. If you come with an acute tonsillitis, for example, and you've been to your doctor, and your doctor told you, here's the antibiotic, you have to take it now. But you don't want to take the antibiotic, so you come to me and tell me, can you check my my tonsillitis? Then I'm gonna look into your throat. I'm gonna check, is there pus on the tonsils or not? Are they swollen or not? Then we have this physical contact. Then I'm gonna actually check you.
Okay. And then something like tonsillitis or something that's
Acute.
or biological.
Yes.
When you'd normally go to your doctor or you take your kid to the pediatricians and you would take, strepsils or whatever. Yeah. There's another route which is
there's a homeopathic way. Yeah.
Homeopathic
remedies,
so there's homeopathic remedies instead.
Yes.
When would you advise, maybe you should go to the traditional medicine way, and when would you say let's go a homeopathic way?
That's a very good question. But there are actually two questions now. So one question was, why don't people know about it? And the other question is there a way to treat it actually on a biological way with homeopathic remedies, right? Did I understand that right? Okay. So let's say someone's coming with a tonsillitis, and someone has swollen tonsils, red throat, sore throat, difficulties swallowing, and let's say you see the first spot of pus coming, okay? That's when I would recommend like a very sharp, acute remedy, and I would not give it a very long time frame until we wait, because this is actually really not, it's a little dangerous if you wait too long. Okay. Because and then I would try like 1 or 2 or 3 homeopathic remedies in a short term and see if they work or not. Mm-hmm. And if the tonsil's getting bigger, and if the pus is getting more, and if the person is in fever and down, and my remedies are not working, most of the times they work. But let's say in 5% they don't work, then I would say, and this is the case where you're supposed to take the antibiotic. Because what can happen then is a blockage of the joint, and that you don't want to have, you know. So there are cases where you need your antibiotic, for sure, and I'm very thankful that they exist. Of course. Like when you have a sepsis, for example, that's when you need them. Mm-hmm. But there's so many cases, and especially countries like Egypt, I feel that for every little cough, every little stuffed nose, every little cold symptoms, they don't even figure out if it's bacterial or viral. Antibiotic, yalla bina, you know, like
I never knew how difficult it is to actually get your hands on antibiotics until I lived in America. I always thought you could call any pharmacy here and get whatever medication you want, more or less, sent over. So I don't think we get to understand that this is very strong medication that you shouldn't be buying off the shelf.
No, you shouldn't. And I also don't know any other country where it's so easy to get them. Because antibiotic, what they do is they don't only kill the bad bacteria, but also the good bacteria that you have. And the good bacteria in your intestinal stomach area, they are a huge part of your immunity system. So if you destroy them, your immunity gets weaker and weaker and weaker. Yeah. And that's a circle. It's a devil circle, because your immunity is weak, you're getting a cold, then they give you antibiotic again. And no one is describing probiotics here. So there's no way to rebuild this immunity system.
I actually want to talk about all these things, and I was going to ask you about what are the misconceptions about homeopathy and homeopathic medication that we want to clear up. And I think that one of the very first ones is the fact that people think you either go a traditional medicine, like with traditional medicine, or homeopathy. But I've seen so many instances where you could actually have them work together, whether it's starting off using homeopathic methods and remedies, and then if it escalates and you need to go to antibiotics, then you do that. And I've seen the reverse, where you have to take antibiotics, but then you want to re-nourish your body and cleanse and flush and continue after a peak of the your illness to then incorporate remedies. So I want you to talk about that and just some common misconceptions about homeopathy, because I think a lot of people can benefit from having both options.
What are the misconceptions that you're confronted with?
The fact that if you choose to go a homeopathic route, then you only get that choice. Like I said earlier, you know, if I'm getting a liver transplant or a limb is falling off, I obviously am gonna go a traditional medicine route and give me morphine and help me out. But I think that things that are more, their treatment is more spaced out, like a flu, or a rash, or anxiety, or
Ovarian cyst.
an ovarian cyst, or fibroids, or hair loss, or so many things that you're dealing with regularly, or headaches.
Yeah.
Headaches, I feel like I always have Advil in my bag.
Yeah.
Not that I always will take it, but every now and then if I get a migraine that I can't, I like to know that it's there.
Right.
Or cramps.
Right.
So there's so many things on a daily basis, or bloating, that you have like a stash of medicine to treat. And these things are not, they're not urgent, so you don't need to go a very quick route. You could actually take the time to figure out the source. So that's something that I'm confronted with, and I want to know more about, because I'd like to stop having an Advil in my bag all the time.
Well, I think what changes people to, or what makes people stop using medicine and choose the natural way, whatever it is, could be homeopathy. Homeopathy is just one out of, you know, so many natural treatments. Okay. But no, I mean, we as homeopath, we work with homeopathic remedies, and they are all natural, so they are from whatever exists in the world, and they're diluted, you know. So so you just work with the information of plant X or animal epsilon or mineral Z, for example.
Oh, okay.
So most of the people that come to a homeopath, they would be like, you know what, I have this bladder infection. Let's use that. And I always
use the ovarian cyst,
or
because
the
there's
ovarian
so many women who have this.
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah. So I have this ovarian cyst, and my gynecologist told me it's not that dangerous. You just keep it there. Okay, I keep it there, and then it it comes and it goes, and sometimes it just pops. But I don't feel really comfortable with it. And now I feel, and it's with me since, let's say, 5 years, this tendency to get ovarian cysts. And now it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't feel well. And I've been through surgery twice, and it always comes back. This is the people that come to a homeopath. اللي هو خلاص. I tried everything that there is on the market, حتى surgery, and it's not working. خلاص, I did all the medications, I followed all advices from the gynecologist, and I had 2 surgeries, and it's still coming back. What am I supposed to do?
Well, a skeptist right now. Did I say it right? A skeptist?
I understand what you mean.
I don't know, by the way, with the fasting and the whole thing. But a skeptic. I went to college, I swear. Okay, a skeptic would come and say, so you're trying to tell me that medicine and surgery and all this knowledge didn't work, and a homeopathic remedy is going to work? Like, that's the first thing someone would think right now.
Yeah. Look, I'm not out here to convince anyone, ever. Like, never was my goal, never will be, because people are who they are, and I really don't want to lose my energy in convincing someone who thinks he knows it all. خلاص, know it all.
Okay.
ربنا معك,
Yes.
you know. But I've seen those cases, like they're in front of me. Chronic sinuses, chronic tonsillitis. Before you remove the tonsils, please go to a homeopath. The tonsils are so important for your immunity system. They're like a filter. If you remove them, this filter is gone. Don't remove your tonsils, please. Go to a homeopath.
Or your kids' tonsils. Take them to a homeopath
Yes.
first. Okay, so then what are you... Okay, so then she's done surgery, she's done all this.
Exactly. So she comes to me.
She comes to
And then I'm giving her a homeopathic remedy, and then 2 months later, the cyst is gone. I mean, this is what I've seen with my own eyes.
What are certain remedies that you can share with us? Like, what can they expect? Are they going to be adding something to their water every day, or is it like a cream, or?
It's like little sugar balls. We call them globuli, and you put them directly on your tongue, or you dilute them in water and you sip from them.
Okay. And it's different, obviously, for each thing that.
Yeah. I think they're, at the moment, 5 to 6,000 proven remedies. And
that's a lot.
That's a lot. And this is why you need such a long time to sit with the person with the symptoms to figure out which of those 6,000 is yours that works on you right now.
I got treated for anger and some sort of like, I can't remember what it was we figured out, but I went to a homeopathist because I had a phase where I was getting very angry in a very scary way, that I was very uncomfortable in my own body afterwards, and I didn't know why. And I'm not an angry person. I could be loud, but I'm not an angry person. And I was getting so angry to the point that after it, I would have kind of like an anger hangover, and I would be so embarrassed, but I would have no control. I didn't know what I was saying until I was saying it. And so they told me like go to a therapist, or actually I wanted to go to a therapist. I was like, I don't want to be this way. So I went to a homeopathist who was also a therapist. Did I say it wrong? Homeopath. Oh, homeopath. I went to a homeopath. I went to a homeopath who was also a therapist. And
Where?
in Cairo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, her name is Jane.
Yeah.
She's awesome. Do you know her?
Yeah.
She's really great. And I had no idea what a homeopath was at the time, but it felt like something that I trust. So I went to get to know her. And she made me answer all these questions, and she found out all these things from the moment I was conceived. You know, like my mother had a miscarriage right before she was pregnant with me. Like the fact that I was conceived while my mother was grieving, to how she carried me through her pregnancy to an early birth, and how she was stressed and she was anxious because it was a premature baby, and just they made me look into a time that I never even considered, but I was very much alive. And it turned out that because from the moment that I was born, I was put in an incubator, and then a couple years later my parents moved and so on, that I had this attachment issue. And I was very comfortable into having a certain amount of space that was mine. And if you came into the space, that I got very overwhelmed, and that's where the anger used to come from. I did not expect to go so far back into my history to find out something like this, but she treated it with placenta.
Interesting.
Yeah, she gave me like placenta drops and stuff, and it helped.
Great.
I'm not gonna say it didn't help.
So your anger is gone? Or got more control?
Yeah, definitely. I think, and just being aware that that was the issue, and just focusing on learning how to attach and how to welcome people into my space, and knowing that was a trigger also was very helpful, but also the remedy. So if I have a cyst, an ovarian cyst, but I want to go to a homeopath right away, is that still fine, or do I have to go through all the other?
Look, at the end of the day, it's your decision. You know, you're responsible for your health. You're just responsible to take the decision when it comes to your health. So if you feel better, if you go to both, do that. It's always your decision. But from my point of view, normally an ovarian cyst is nothing super duper dangerous, unless it's growing very fast and you have severe fever with it, and you need proper treatment in an acute way. But the most ovarian cysts I've seen so far, they're there, you know.
Yeah. And you could treat them where they're gone and your body stops producing them?
I've seen it.
You've seen?
Yes.
Okay. And what have you seen could be one of the causes of, or like the root cause of having the cysts? Is it your diet? Is it stress? Is it genetics? Is it what I believe, that of all the chemicals that are in pads and tampons and detergents that wash your underwear and food that you're eating, I think honestly that's such a big part of why we're having all these issues come up now.
I think it's a mix of many things, and every individual reacts different on it. But like what we believe in homeopathy is that there is like an imbalance happening that is disturbing your vital force, which we call also Qi in Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine, or the prana in Hinduistic approaches. This is all the vital force. So this vital force gets out of balance with whatever there's coming. It could be something minor where you would think, oh, well, that's not such a big impact, but why? But it is a big impact. Like, for example, I have a dip in the pool and then I come out, and then once it's super fresh outside, it's chilly, it's cold, I'm getting a cold breeze on my head, and I'm khalas, like, and then I develop fever at night. This could be one of the cause when your vital force is like not in its own rhythm anymore, or taking an antibiotic, getting a vaccine, experiencing trauma, a traumatic happening in your life, either by yourself or observing it, going through an accident. All these are grieving. All these are things that happen that might bring you out of balance. So what we, with the remedy, want is bring you back to your balance. And this is why I'm doing this all the time, because homeopathic remedies are produced in a rhythmic way. So what we want to do is we want to put your vital force in this little ping pong game so that it's pendling on its own again. So
What's
that
a vital force?
it's the chi, the prana.
Yeah, tell me more about that. It seems familiar, but it seems like something I want to know a bit more about.
It's your individual force that is your own rhythm and that is there to heal you, to produce whatever you need to heal, whatever you need to get over a trauma, to get over a cold, to get over a fever.
So it's like your immunity plus your vibrational frequency plus your
energy plus your, exactly.
Okay.
Depending on from what area you come, you will find so many terminologies.
All right. And then, so that's
what we want to strengthen. We want to strengthen this so that you don't have to produce the allergic symptoms when you see a cat, because you don't need that. Your immunity system is overreacting. You don't need to sneeze or have teary eyes when you see a cat. So your vital force got out of balance, so it does that. So we need to bring it back into balance so you can heal yourself.
So an allergy is reversible, because some people think that you're born with an allergy.
No. Well, you could be born with an allergy. This is why a homeopath would ask you, in a case like that, when you have something since you're born, how was your mom's pregnancy? How was the delivery? And so on. Because, or how's the family history of allergies? Yeah. Because if someone is born with an allergy, there's a high percentage that the family has allergy issues as well.
What can you tell me about remedies? Because I seem to not really have a lot of information. Yeah, people think it's like potions and stuff, but I feel like it's so interesting to know that the earth provides just what we need. Yeah, so what are some cool things you can tell me about remedies?
One very, very simple thing is the onion, okay? So we have the onion that you cut and eat. We have a remedy out of that. So, and it's very good for the homeopath to understand the nature of the remedy, because what it does is it imitates the symptoms that are coming. Let's say you're cutting an onion, what you get? Teary eyes most of the time, right? Yes. So if we take a drop out of the onion and dilute it with a neutral substance, let's say 30 times, only the very tiny information of the actual onion is still in the remedy that we use. Okay. But it works with everything that produces teary eyes, like an allergy, for example. So the onion would be one of the remedies that we could use to treat an allergy if the allergy symptom is teary eyes.
So you take the symptom that you're getting from X, you find a natural thing that causes the exact same symptom, and then, but how does that treat it? Because now maybe you're gonna get even more teary eyes.
And this is and this is why you have to choose the right potency. Okay. Because you can dilute it 30 times, you can dilute it 200 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 1 million times.
Because even if you take that drop, you're not gonna get teary-eyed from that drop of diluted onion. But if you take it too high, and let's say, so this is why it's important with the potencies, okay? Yeah. So we use low potencies if we want to treat something on the physical level. We use the higher potencies if we want to treat something on the mental level. So let's say we use one of the higher middle potencies, then we can actually produce teary eyes with this remedy, if there has been no teary eyes.
But we can treat it with it because it mimics the symptom that you're producing from the allergy. Like you have it, and then we give the remedy, and the remedy is saying, "Hey, I'm similar to you." So and then your vital force remembers, "Oh, wait, I'm here too. I should work now," and then it starts working.
Okay. What's an interesting plant or?
What I find super interesting is snake poison. That's super interesting. Yeah.
How do you get snake poison?
Well, you get it from the teeth of a snake.
But I mean, it's legal.
Yeah, I mean, they the moment they produce it, they make sure it's it's.
So then what's that used to treat?
Let's say there's one specific snake, and the snake is biting you, okay? And from the poison of the snake, you would develop half-side paralyzation.
Okay.
So we use this remedy for whatever causes half-side paralyzations, like a stroke, like a paralyzation that comes from grieving. Like, there are these part-time paralyzations when someone
extreme sadness or stress can cause half paralysis, for sure.
So for these, we would choose this remedy, for example. That's pretty cool.
Because that venom also causes the same exact. Wow. Very interesting that everything you need is here.
I know, right? And they're still testing. Like the testing phase is not stopped, thanks God. Like especially in India, all the homeopaths, they're testing like so many new remedies. Yeah. All the plants that they're having, they're just testing, keep on. Oh, this does this, this does this, this does. It's so cool.
Again, common things that you give yourself pills for every day that maybe you don't need to. It's headaches and bloating, indigestion, period cramps or period symptoms in general for women. What about inability to conceive? Women that are having a hard time. It's such a big issue.
Actually,
now.
that's how I came to homeopathy.
What a nice bridge, because that was going to be the next question. Because so many of the women around me, from my cousins or my friends, are having a hard time getting pregnant, and even then staying pregnant, and they keep having all these like toxic pregnancy miscarriages, and it's becoming difficult. Okay, tell me about that, and tell me how that got you into homeopathy.
They're fabulous remedies to support the, how do you call it? The ability to conceive. Exactly. So what I had, I don't know, how long did I have that? Like, I think it started when I was like 13, 14. It's called PCO, the Pco symptom, the syndrome. Ovarian Cyst syndrome.
PCOS.
Exactly. Yeah. So what happens is actually your eggs are not dropping, they're just staying there in the ovaries. Yeah, this is what happens, and so you don't have like a normal cycle. You don't ovulate, and you don't have a period.
Were you taking the birth control as a medication?
Exactly, medication, because that's the answer from classical medicine. Right. They give you birth control.
It's the weirdest, craziest thing, because this is something that's caused by hormones, and they're giving you something that's going to mess up your hormones even more.
Well, they want to pretend that your body is pregnant the whole time, so they don't need to do anything, because I studied this a little bit from the hormonal part of view, but and I understand that if the estrogen level is not high enough, that you can develop other symptoms in your kidney and skin, of course, and so on.
It just doesn't seem like a long-term solution.
Exactly. Plus, the problem is it doesn't solve the actual issue.
No, it just pauses.
Exactly. It pauses, and it's like, okay, let's not cause more harm on one side. But then on the other side, I was taking 15 years the pill. I mean, I don't want to know what this did to my body,
I have friends who took the advice of their gynecologist and have been on birth control. Their skin suffers. Their hair, they lose a lot of their hair. They have very weird spikes of energy, and then mood swings. Yeah. It's just, I don't think that a woman, especially like when you're so young, you're supposed to stop your flow if you're not pregnant, because there's a lot of benefit. Hormonally. So okay, but you had PCOS, and you were taking
the periods or like the cycle of a woman, if this is disturbed, this screams homeopathy, homeopathy, homeopathy. Why? Because it's a topic of rhythm, and the rhythm is disturbed.
The flow.
It's a very ancient rhythm. When you ovulate, and then you know, like before, all the women, when they live together, they ovulate at the same time.
Yeah, because when you spend a lot of time with someone, you become in flow together, right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's so cool. Seriously, like the world is so amazing. Well, so what better technique do you have to treat something like this with the rhythmic produced remedy out of nature that mimics what you have? It's amazing. So
I'm thinking of all the people that I know that have PCOS, who I'm going to make sure that they listen to you, and hopefully that they take this as a solution.
Always look for a homeopath. Always look. And don't give up if the first or the second remedy doesn't work, because come on guys, we need to choose from 6 to 7 to 8,000 remedies. So there might be a little phase of adjusting, okay?
Yeah.
How did I get it? I had PCOS, and
How old were you when you had PCOS, or you found
I
it?
think 13, 14. My period just stopped.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, so I don't have a period anymore. And then my gynecologist gave me the pill. So I'm like, all right, I didn't know about anything. I didn't know about homeopathy or about any other thing. I was 13, 14, back in the 90s. So then, funnily enough, because homeopathy was invented by a German in Germany. Me being half German and half Egyptian, living most of my life in Germany, I needed to come to Egypt to find a homeopath in Egypt.
Really?
Who were like, well, we could treat this with homeopathy. Do you know this? I'm like, what? Really? Of course, I didn't believe her. And then she gave me like this little drops, and she's like, yeah, you have to take those drops. I'm like, yeah, right. As if I ever get my cycle back on. Girl, 4 months later, I was pregnant. I'm like, oh my God. And I didn't plan that pregnancy. It just popped up. It was, oh my God, fantastic. Seriously. Like a month later.
How many years was that after you had first gotten your PCOS and where it was on the birth control?
17 years.
17 years you're on birth control?
Yeah. And it took 1 month to get me back into my cycle. 1 month.
Of homeopathy?
Yes.
So 17 years later, what made you seek a homeopath?
It was, I kind of...
Were you trying to get pregnant?
No, not at all. I took the decision that I don't want to take hormones anymore. So I was looking for alternatives.
17 years later? Okay.
Right?
Better late than never.
Exactly. So I was like, no, I got to stop that pill. It's not good for me. I was smoking back then, cigarettes, and I was really scared of thrombosis. This is something you could, the risk is high if you smoke cigarettes and you're on contraceptive.
I don't think people know this. Yeah. This is important. So it's what's the risk if you smoke cigarettes and you're on birth control for PCOS?
You know thrombosis, what that is?
No.
That means that your veins are very weak because they produce clots. The clotting inside the vein is higher because of these risk factors. And then your vein might be blocked. And if your vein is blocked, the blood can't flow anymore. So a part of your body won't get blood anymore.
What does that cause?
One consequence is that, let's say I have it here, okay? Whatever vein is there that is clotting, and that has the thrombus, let's say I have it here, that means that my leg doesn't get enough blood. That means that, for example, I can't move the leg anymore. The blood circulation is not flowing.
Oh, I don't think people know. I don't think a lot of people know this. I don't even think that they tell you that, you know, if you're going to take birth control, are you a smoker? Yeah. I'm pretty sure, because I know.
And then also, what is another risk factor is not moving enough and not drinking enough water. So if you do all this for severe, like for a lot of years, I mean, the risk is high to get it.
Okay.
Another consequence that might happen is that this thrombus, like it's a clot, okay? Yeah. It starts moving, and it goes with the circulation, and then it comes to your heart or to your lung.
Oh, and you can have a stroke or something.
Exactly. Or in the brain, yes.
Oh. Yeah, I don't think people, I don't even think that was, because I was prescribed birth control at a point, but I refused to take it. I refused to take something that's gonna throw me off my hormone. I'm balanced just as I am, like this. Nothing needs to throw me off. Okay, so for 17 years birth control, 4 months later, 1 month later of homeopathy, back into your circle.
Super regular.
3 months after that, you're pregnant.
Yes.
Okay. How did that experience make you go into homeopathy, and what were you doing before?
That was my spark. That was like, okay, wait, if this is possible, what else is possible? I have to dig deeper. And then I started reading, researching, visiting this homeopath who healed this condition for other stuff that I used to have, chronic sinuses and. Oh my God, it was amazing. And then I took homeopathy during my pregnancy, giving homeopathy to my baby whenever it has teething problems, whenever there would be a fever, you know, because a fever, for example, also not a lot of people know that a fever is a natural reaction from your immunity system to fight whatever is there. Let's say you have a little virus or little bacteria, little amount of them is coming into your system. Your system's reaction is, which is a healthy reaction, that means you have a vital force that is strong, producing fever.
Right.
To say, I'm fighting this. If you're suppressing the fever now with Panadol or whatever there out there is, you're telling your body, you don't need to take care of this. The pill will. Chill. Oh. What is the vital force doing? Nothing. What's happening with the bacteria and the viruses? They can spread. Because the fever is not there. The body, you need a high body temperature to fight them. You know? So
it's so weird because it's against everything we're coded to think, right? But then isn't there a danger if your child or if you are having a fever?
It always depends, of course. I would never say leave your child to have 7 days of 41 degrees fever. Most probably is. I mean, there are cases where it was fine, but I would never, you know, advise that. But it always depends on how the fever is received by the individual. So there are children who are playing with 39 degrees fever. They don't have any problems. They're super active. Everything is fine so far. So, you know, you could try the natural stuff. There's so many natural things to reduce the fever. And there are other kids who are in a kind of a, how do you say this in English? Delirium? It's delirium in German. Dilaria?
Delirious?
They're delirious with 38.5.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when you have to do something. You can't have someone fantasizing and seeing yellow elephants.
It's going to require your observation, I guess.
Exactly.
It's not blindly just taking this remedy or this.
What does it do with the individual?
Right.
Does it help the individual right now? Is the individual suffering from it right now or not?
We're in such a quick fix mentality.
Yeah.
So you also think, oh, I'm just going to take this I'm just going to take this remedy and I'm going to be all better like a potion, or I'm going to take this antibiotic or this medicine and feel all better. But I think it's a very interesting metaphor that you actually need to take the time to observe on a case by case basis and respond accordingly, like even like a pendulum. Today I can't speak. Today I can't speak. Like a pendulum, back and forth.
That's what I do. Like I would be like, how's the child now? Okay, what is she doing now? Is she moving? Is she drinking? Is she eating? Is she suffering? Is she crying? We're always on the phone, you know?
And parents and people with whether it's with your kids or with yourself, you need to take that extra time to see what it is that you need. Stop looking for a quick fix because that's not going to do anything. And that's both biological and emotional and mental.
And also sometimes things need to fall back to their places by something like a little flu with a fever. You don't need to take necessarily a homeopathic remedy if you have a little flu with the fever. You know? You can just bring the fever down by cold towels around the how do you call it?
The shins or your shins.
Exactly. Or by you know, gurgling with marmareya. It's amazing for a sore throat.
Really?
Yes. There's so many things, asal, lamoon, ganzabil. There's so many nice things from nature that you can take, you know? Like you don't need for everything, bardo, because some of my clients, they're like, oh, I need a quick fix now from homeopathy. When my child has a cold, no, not necessarily, you know? Not for everything we need to. We can support it, of course, but we don't need to.
But we also don't live in a climate where you really have time to be sick or slow, technically.
Sometimes the body's response is
Stop.
stop. And if you don't listen to the cold, which is a mild form of saying stop, it might send you more severe signs, like migraines. I would like to answer is the question that you asked me before, what did I do before homeopathy?
Yes,
If that's still valid.
of course.
I've been born and raised in Germany. I'm half German, half Egyptian. So we would always come like in the holidays to Egypt to see the country, to, you know, get connected to the culture, to visit our family and so on. And then the revolution came. And then it was a time in my life where I was changing as well. So I thought, oh wow, the country's changing. Finally, something's going on. It's a good movement. I'm changing as well. I want to go. So that's when I came to Egypt. And since then I'm here. It's like 10 years ago now. And then during the revolution, I asked myself, okay, how can I make myself beneficial for the community? You know, what can I contribute? And then I saw that the big opportunity popped up, that suddenly the taboo was raised or was removed from the topic of getting sexually harassed, right?
It was just starting.
It was starting, it was debated. There were so many incidents, exactly. So it was brought to attention to the government and to media by, I think, international organizations, but also by NGOs that have been working so long on this, on lifting the taboo about this topic. Yeah. So it was lifted. I've seen girls talking openly in talk shows about it. I've seen parents, you know, asking themselves, did we do the right thing in the last centuries, telling our girls always to shut up and to look at the floor and not to make a scandal and just to ignore it, and it's gonna be going away by itself. Well, it didn't. It didn't go away by itself, right? So I was like, okay, now is my time. And I remembered a class that I was taking, and it's based on the Wendo concept. It's a kind of a mix of a self-esteem booster, self-assertion, and self-defense for women. And I did that course when I was like, what, 13, 12? And I was like, this is what Egyptian women need. And then I reached out, I got trained as a Wendo trainer, and I brought it to Egypt, this concept. Okay. And I started with neighbors and friends and cousins. Then I adapted it a little bit to the Egyptian culture because it was developed in Canada. Okay. And then it was a pretty Western concept. But the idea is the same. And then I brought it here and adapted it, and then I had classes going on, and it really was received well. And then, together with the German Development Cooperation, GIZ, we trained a lot of Egyptian trainers to train young women and girls in youth centers of Egypt. So there are now, I don't know how many trainers we have, I think 30 trainers who train young girls in youth centers in Egypt on that they're worth it not to be harassed, on their potential, on their free will, on their power of decision, on physical techniques, on how to get out of a physical attack if they're attacked, on the idea of boundaries that doesn't exist in the Egyptian culture. No. So it's groundbreaking when you teach a person about the personal boundaries, and that it's the right to defend your own boundaries, and that it's your right to speak up if anyone overcrosses the boundaries, physically or mentally, and that is your responsibility and your duty to do that. This is really like, this is a whole new...
You're decoding an entire system of what we were taught and over generations. We were always taught to be quiet, not laugh too loud, not speak up if something happens, story nafsik, like don't tell anyone, at least no one knows about it. And I heard before that if you go through something traumatizing, and nothing can be more traumatizing than harassment, that if you don't open up about it and you keep that in, that you pass that energy on from one generation to the next, and it just gets louder and louder and louder until you release it. I know this is a big concept for people who might not believe in this, but I do believe in this. So I think that it's about effing time that you're taught that if you're the quieter you are, the louder they're going to be.
Yeah.
And that if you're not going to defend your boundaries or stand up or set them, then they're going to be crossed.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the quieter you are, the more you swallow, the more physical symptoms you will develop. Coming back to homeopathy now, this could be one of the causes. Not speaking up, not screaming it out, not communicating, not talking about it.
The energy festers, and it festers in a very negative way. And you do pass it on. You harm yourself and you pass it on. But not a lot of people, and we're not here to convince, like you said earlier, and I'm happy that you said that, but it really is a fact. If you're even just a bit skeptical, that if you do not communicate something that has a weight on your emotions, even if it's just your emotions, that it could turn into a biological illness.
It's proven. This is proven.
It's cancer.
Yes.
It's cancer.
It starts with
a stroke.
I can't. I lose my voice. Why do you lose your? What do you want to say? Tell me. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, I always have fat tonsils. Why? What do you need to swallow? Oh, I have a blocked nose. Why? What is it that you have enough of? That your nose is full of? There are these sayings that exactly symbolizes what you feel. Oh, my shoulders are so heavy. What are you carrying? What's the burden you carry? It's always like that. It's mind-blowing.
It is. Okay. And then how did that go into homeopathy? Because it's interesting, whether you know it or not, you're in the defense, you're in the natural self-defense. Whether it's defending yourself against illness, using nature, or if it's defending yourself against predators.
I wouldn't say it's defense. It's, from my point of view, it's strengthening your core.
Okay.
So that you are able to take a decision that is for you and not against you. Like someone harasses you. The ball is on your side now. What are you doing? Are you ignoring it? Are you swallowing it? With what feeling do you go to bed to? Not a nice feeling. That's most of the answers I get. Yeah, I don't feel أنا ما خدتش حقي. Okay, what would you have loved to do? I would have loved to stand him down and tell him احترم نفسك.
Not always what exactly happens. I'm not talking about harassment specifically, but I feel like in life it's not about necessarily what happened, but it's about when you feel like you didn't stick up for yourself, or there was something you wanted to say or do, but maybe you're caught off guard and you don't. And I feel like that lack of is what harms us the most, because you feel like you wanted to protect yourself in that moment and you didn't do that. Yeah, that hurts me the most. Like sometimes someone could throw a comment, Masan, and I'll be really hurt, and I'll think I'm hurt from this comment, but I'm actually hurt because I could have said something.
Yeah.
I could have done something. I could have put a boundary. I could have,
exactly.
right?
And that's how your anger could develop, for example.
Yeah.
And this is one specific remedy that I would give you then. If you would tell me, you know what? I'm always that friendly and nice, and I always swallow everything, and I would have loved to say, but I don't say it. But now I'm thinking of throwing things, and I'm really getting angry right now. And the more I think about it, and then you get symptoms of 1, 2, 3, 4, I will give you this remedy.
But you don't have to worry about me in that case. Most cases, I'm able to speak.
You're fixed.
No, really, sometimes to a fault. However, there are times if it's like work related, and I go in thinking, of course, these people know more than I do, and then I swallow my words or my suggestions, and I'll have them lead the conversation or the meeting or. And I started to have this like thing.
See?
And I was getting tested for thyroid and vitamin D deficiency, and I noticed that the moment I started to say, maybe they are so smart, let me just say this anyway, and maybe it'll do. And I would speak up. Just the fact that I'm speaking up and giving myself that respect took away a lot of that.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, like internal sabotage of don't speak because akid homa, they know more. Well, what do you know? You look stupid. Don't say that. You don't know. I'm sure if you don't ask this question, I'm sure they've thought of it, but they didn't.
So all of this is a journey, and this is why I like people to observe themselves. When do you get this? After what happens? And if they observe themselves and then they just stop it, it might go totally away. So, coming back to your question, what I love doing is strengthening the vital force, the individuality, the core of a person, so that the person knows, I can figure it out. I'm gonna find a solution for this. There can't be any solution hard enough that I can find a solution for. And this on a physical level, on a mental level, on a conscious level, on an unconscious level, with the window and all the empowerment work I'm doing, and the homeopathy work I'm doing, because this is what we do in homeopathy as well. You strengthen the vital force so that it can heal itself.
I feel like you would be a great person for someone who has been through some sort of sexual harassment experience to reach out to you, because I feel like you'd be able to help on both the strength, like what your previous and your current work, from helping any of those symptoms or triggers using homeopathy, and at the same time working to strengthen that inner core and defense and feeling like you're getting that power back.
Yeah.
So I feel like you'd be a great person if someone has had that experience, and there's a lot that have had this experience on different levels who could benefit from reaching out to you. And I hope if someone listening has been through that they do reach out to you.
Yeah.
Because it'll be very proactive, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen also from like life coaching clients that would come to me that anyone who's been through, and even sending DMs on Cut the Crap's Instagram, like people that have been through certain sexual harassment experiences, and usually they think the first thing that they do is they go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, which is not wrong, of course, but sometimes you don't feel like it's doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then there's always another option, I think, which would be homeopathy, or that self-defense training,
Yeah,
and,
or
and
empowerment
self-empowerment
sessions, yes.
sessions, and being proactive in that sense. And sometimes all three could work together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So there are options, and that's the point of where, like, what I wanted to use Cut the Crap as a platform to do. These options are available, and know a bit about this, and know a bit about that, and explore, because there isn't a one answer.
No.
There isn't just one way.
And there's not one way in general, and there's not one way for you, because you might like to talk to a psychologist in a specific way of therapy more than empowerment trainings.
Right.
Someone else would rather take a remedy than talk about their childhood for 7 years, you know?
Yeah.
There's no one way for everyone.
Exactly.
Like, everyone is choosing what is best for them, what works best for them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like the very own capability of taking decisions and the very own rhythm of yourself.
You keep saying decisions and rhythm together every single time.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I should work
Rhythm
on that
and
more.
decision. There's a link there.
Yeah.
And I agree, because, and then you're also saying decision, like you're not saying vocalizing or expression. You're very keen on deciding. Is it because you think a lot of people where they suffer is
They don't decide.
they don't decide
Yes.
for themselves?
Yes. And that brings them out of rhythm. Maybe that's the connection.
Maybe that is the connection.
Yeah. No, really. I think a lot of people, they're just
Going.
flowing, which is nice. It's good to flow, but
No, I think
if you only flow, you should.
I think there's two different meanings. There are two different. I think flow is two different words. There's going with the flow in the sense that you're just completely and utterly not doing anything, so you're going nowhere very quickly, and there's that only dead fish go with the flow. And there's flow as in finding the
rhythm.
reading the rhythm of the wave,
Yeah.
so you know how to ride it without crashing. So I think these
Yeah.
are two different
Yeah.
words that shouldn't be confused. But yeah, I think when you are and we're faced with decisions on a daily basis, you're faced. I noticed for me, it's the little decisions that accumulate over time that I ignore because I choose to eat the shit, for instance, instead of causing, like, sometimes it's like, I'll just do it. I'll just call them. Or okay, I'll just send it. Because as a person, I'm a lot faster sometimes. I like to get things done.
Yeah.
So it's the little decisions that I accumulate throughout my day that I technically actually don't want to be doing, but I just decide them on a whim because I'll just get all these chores done,
Yeah.
and we can move on, affect me the most and throw me out of flow. So that's why I was interested when you said flow, when you were talking about the decisions and your rhythm.
Yeah.
Because I think all these decisions, even the smallest of ones of...
Keep you in the rhythm. Exactly. And it's so many things are active decisions, and you actually you're not aware of them. Either give into the sadness and spend the whole day sad, and let me drag into it and become the sadness.
Oh my God, I do that
And
sometimes.
I identify with it. Or I'm going into a little conversation with it. I'm saying, all right, sadness, you're here. Okay, what can I do for you? All right, what do you want from me? An actual conversation with the mirror, and see what it wants, live it a little bit, cry if you want to,
Okay.
and then actively sending it out of the room, telling it, bye-bye, it was nice for you to visit me today. I got in touch with you, and now I'm doing something that makes me happy. What is it that makes me happy? This type of music, and I'm gonna listen to it now, and I'm gonna dance to it right now. And then I'm gonna watch a baby elephant video on YouTube, because that's what makes me laugh.
But I think it's
Just,
important to know that even, and I agree, because that actually does work when you like self-parent yourself, and you're like, now you're gonna do this, and now you're gonna do that, and even it doesn't have to feel as good as it would always or regularly feel, because obviously you're sad. But I think the act of doing it will definitely cause some relief, because I think it's hard. You know, what if you got fired, or you got dumped, or you lost someone you love, or just stuff's not going your way.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying don't let sadness be in your life. It's a very human feeling, and it should be. Like anger, like jealousy, like all the so-called negative feelings.
Right.
They're there to be lived.
Right.
But the moment you let them control you and identify with them, this is where it's getting toxic.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort.
It does.
That's a lot of, and the thing is, we're not taught, and it's not in our normal coding that you put all this effort into yourself.
True. Absolutely true.
When it comes to yourself, it's the quickest thing. The quick, easy on the go meals, fastest way to do this, easy relief, everything concerning yourself has to be quick. I don't get it. Because everything concerning ourselves actually takes a lot of time and patience. And then we're surprised when we don't have patience towards our work or our financial situation or other people, when we don't even have patience with ourselves.
Yeah.
And I notice this because now it's starting to become this revolutionary enlightenment ideology that you're taking time for yourself.
Yeah.
Me time. All your time should be me time. If it's you, then it's your time. If you're doing something for yourself, like I noticed my mornings are pretty quick. And I decided very early on, like today I said, okay, from now on my mornings are going to be a lot chiller. But I wake up and I'm just, most of the time I don't even finish my coffee, like if it's there, I just leave it.
Wow.
Right? I'm just always just like, I'm excited, I'm rushed, I have all these expectations for myself. And even I am very conscious to take time for myself. So even I have that. But today I was like, you know what? Starting tomorrow, I'm going to have really chill mornings. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to take it really easy. Even if it means I have to wake up earlier than I do. So it's interesting again and again, the more things that I'm exploring here, and I've spent a lot of time in Guna actually this whole year, which is why I just continued shooting from here, because there's something about this place and the people here. It's like everyone that lives here has already discovered something and made a decision, and we're all catching up to this actual state of mind. This is like free promo for Guna. Sponsor us, but no, seriously. So it's so interesting, because when you do take the time for yourself, whether it's figuring out a remedy or decoding something or listening or trying to figure out your balance
or observing yourself,
you actually come to the next phase faster.
Lots of people don't want this though. Don't want to face their demons. Don't want to go to the next phase, you know?
Yeah.
So,
because it takes
again,
a lot of work.
Exactly, and that's their decision again. It's not easy to let go of things that keep you alive, that keep you sane, that keep you structured, that keep you oriented, you know? It's very hard to do that.
From practice, I've noticed when you do take your time, you actually get things done better and faster.
Yeah,
and
true.
I'm starting to not want to associate myself with this multitasking skill. I used to always be so proud that I can multitask. I don't want to be a multitasker because I've read that the brain can't even multitask. You can't do two things at the same time. You're just doing two things interchangeably in a shorter period of time, back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Well, the question is, why do you need to do that?
Why?
Is it because you need to prove yourself that you can do more than just one thing? Is it because you really think time is ticking too fast and you got to push it all in one day? Like this is again your job to figure out, why am I doing this?
Yeah, there's something that I wanted to ask you about, because this has been the biggest demon that every time that it walks into my life, I welcome, I talk to, I try to get to know. But it's like that sociopathic twin that you just never can get right. And to me, that's anxiety. I cannot figure out what triggers it. I cannot figure out how high the wave is going to be. I ride it out, but oh my God, sometimes it feels like my heart is about to stop. Like my body gets so hot, I sweat. I feel like in that moment, I'm fire. And I try to like have a conversation with it. I wait it out. I'm like, I know it's anxiety, and I know it's gonna pass, and I can understand a few things that probably are triggering it. But we don't get along. We don't get along. And I feel like that's something you mentioned you treat, and everyone has it.
Yeah, it's getting really, really more and more. I see that, yeah.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I've never carried a weight heavier than my anxiety. It makes everything feel worthless. I feel like, what's the point? Like at its worst, it's like, what's the point? This all sucks anyway. Why am I even wasting my time? Ooh, I don't want to see anyone. I don't want anyone to see me. I don't want to talk. I don't want to listen. I just get to a point where I'm just like, I don't see the motivation. And I think that's the worst feeling ever, is to not have motivation or faith, right? So what can you tell me about anxiety or methods of treatment, or even root causes? Like, I could think of a billion, obviously, but
yeah, there are a billion, I think. Like, for a lot of people, it's grief. After grief, they develop anxiety. Loss of a loved person, for example.
Yes, but it didn't start there. It definitely got a bit worse, but it didn't start with that, no.
The feeling of getting out of control, not having things under control.
Yeah.
This is a root cause.
That's my cause, because even now my spine hurts when you said that.
Yeah,
I just felt it in my back.
So, in general, I think what people can do is connect with nature. The more you're connected with nature, the less reasons you have to be anxious.
And this is why I've spent the better part of this whole year here.
Yeah. And actively connect with it, not just sit and have a juice. No. Feel the sand under your whole body. Go into the sea and let the salt water cleanse you. Hug a tree. As stupid as it sounds, but
I know,
the energy that a tree gives you and what it releases from you, oh my God. Routines help as well. Like, I don't know, I love to compare the sun salutation of a yoga with the prayer in Islam, for example.
Yeah.
It has so much cleansing and ritual things. So if you are religious, use this ritual to release actively energy when you touch your forehead on the ground, and take new energy if you go up again.
Yeah.
In an acute attack, what I recommend is to really shake it out and put you into the now. Feel what is now. Exactly as you said, see what is in front of you. What color does it have? What shape does it have? Does it move or does it not move? Focus yourself on the now. Then close your eyes and just hear what you hear.
But you know, sometimes it's so bad that I can't move.
Yeah.
And I know I need to move. I can't move, and I get even more angry or upset or anxious because I'm like, I know I have to, but I'm not.
Can you breathe then? Is breathing possible? Then breathe.
Yeah.
It always depends on the kind of an attack, because some people have shortage of breath, so they can't breathe. That's when I tell them shake.
Yeah.
Some people are shivering, they can't shake, but they can breathe, so I tell them breathe.
Okay.
Some people are just paralyzed, so
Right.
you know, so it's not, they don't all have the same form of anxiety.
I'm definitely gonna do start the sessions with you for anxiety, because I've done so much up until this point that I need it to the next level. Now
Yeah.
I need to take, because I acknowledge it, I understand the triggers, I am the friend of it.
Very
Hello and welcome.
Khalas.
But
Then you're ready to face it. Yes.
Khalas, I'm ready to cut this tumor out.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact that how often I experience anxiety and at what rate is not supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some people think it's okay every day they're bloated. It's not supposed to be this way.
No. Correct.
So this is me and anxiety now. I don't need you unless something traumatic has taken place.
Yeah.
Because there's no need for you on a daily basis, and I don't need you several times a day.
Yeah.
I don't need you as soon as I wake up. I don't need you when I'm trying to take a nap in the middle. I cannot take naps.
Yeah.
It triggers my anxiety because it's like midday, and it's definitely the control thing, by the way. It goes way back to like a lot of things that happened that were out of my control that affected me.
Exactly.
So control became a very big thing.
And that's why we strengthen your core,
Yeah.
to tell you have the control. You are in control. What happened back then is not controlling you anymore. Back then you didn't have the tools, but now you will.
Okay. I love that. And I thank you. I learned so much about homeopathy, and I hope that people listening can understand that there are different options. Especially the idea of modern medicine has become somewhat of a debate in this year, because a lot of people came out recommending all types of medication, and then people are becoming skeptical, and then there's this whole vaccine argument that we won't get into because neither of us are qualified to discuss this. To each his own, but it has become a conversation. Medicine, modern medicine, and natural medicine. So it is an option.
My vision would be, my future vision would be that both work together. Like in India, it's been practiced in India, it's been practiced in some institutions in Switzerland that I know of. So where there's like a big clinic, and there are like different sections of classical medicine with the X-ray, with the ultrasound, with all the technology that we would need to do diagnostics, with, if you have to cut out an organ because otherwise it's going to infect every other organ in the body, who are able to cut it out, who do their thing, but then work together with the non-classical practitioners, such as homeopath, to bring the person back to a very quick recovery and a very sustainable recovery, and not to a recovery state where they need another medicine to مش A, and you have a high blood pressure, so you take medication for this is causing liver injury, so we need to give you something to. We're circling in
it's a
very
vicious
sad circle. Yeah. So that would be actually my vision for the future. That would be amazing if that could happen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.